On the back page this morning, it's all about Nick Woltemade's own goal that gave Sunderland the victory in the Tyne derby. After watching his side seemingly not turn up for the biggest game of their season, Newcastle boss Eddie Howe agreed they were below par.
Certainly not from an attacking perspective. I don't think we ever truly got going today, which is a huge frustration. Normally we're a very good attacking team and we put teams under pressure, but today that didn't really happen for whatever reason. But I think it would be the same for both teams, really. It was a game of very few chances. It was a lot of midfield territory being fought for. Unfortunately, the big moment goes against us from the second phase long throw, and that cost us a game. Nick's tried to clear the ball with good intentions. Unfortunately, it's gone in. He's done well for us from defending set plays, and we need to, because we're not the size of team that we were in previous seasons. We're slightly smaller, so we need everyone to pull their weight, and it's happened, but it was sort of in keeping with the game, really. Neither team opened the other up, and it's taken a mistake to win it.
Let's get more on the derby with the Daily Mail's chief football reporter, Craig Hope. Morning, Craig.
Good morning, Craig.
Good morning, guys.
So, Craig, look, are we being a bit harsh on Newcastle? I mean, they've lost the derby, but they've lost it to a freak goal.
First of all, what I will say is if this wasn't a weird Tyne derby laced with intrigue, we probably wouldn't be talking about it this morning, would we? It was 0.56 combined XG, which I believe is the lowest since records began in the Premier League. There, the desperation derby it was in the end, but doesn't that talk to the point that all it needed was one moment of class, one moment of composure, one moment of inspiration? It didn't need much at all. We're talking about Sunderland as the victors. They couldn't even go and win the derby themselves. Their one shot on target was Nick Woltemade's header, which ended up separating the teams. But then you throw that back on Newcastle, because they started, guys, with a front three worth £167 million. And there's an argument at half-time to take off Anthony Elanga, Anthony Gordon and Nick Woltemade. They couldn't lay a glove on Sunderland. They weren't without territory. They weren't without positions of promise. The space was there in the first half. Every time they got into those areas, the cross, the pass, the shot, whatever it may be, that final execution was so badly lacking. Newcastle were set up to an extent to win. They sat in, they soaked up the pressure. They had the players with pace to pay on the break. But when they got there, they did absolutely nothing with it. The attacking effort was abysmal.
Craig, tell me now, Jeff and I were on this morning, 6 o'clock. First thing we said, we loved it. Right, it was starved of quality. There is absolutely no doubt about that. There wasn't a lot of quality on show, but as a derby game, I thought it was as passionate and as exciting to watch as I've seen in a long time. Now, just to give me your opinion on this one. I don't think I've ever watched any derby, particularly the Rangers-Celtic derby, when you go up in the morning and you say, well, I hope we get a good game today, because effectively nobody is interested to a certain degree in the quality of the game. They just want to win the game. And I thought Sunderland looked to me as though they wanted it that little bit more.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't disagree with that. And it was the noisiest, nastiest derby in a generation, really. It's 9 years since the last one in the Premier League. So this anticipation for yesterday, Ali, it was different. There was a real rawness to it. And what was intriguing about it was when the derby fixture was confirmed at the start of the season, I think Newcastle automatically assumed it was going to be 6 points, given the advent of new ownership at Newcastle, a Champions League club, Sunderland newly promoted. But fair play to Sunderland. They've looked at that and they've gone about it entirely differently. They've signed 14 players at a cost of £150 million, and they look as if they belong, and their supporters went to the Stadium of Light yesterday with an expectation. In turn, so did their players, and that transpired in the way they played. And that's the point you make, Ali. Yes, it was a game absolutely starved of quality, but when the ball dropped in those 50-50s in the middle of the park, who was first to it? It was Sunderland's players. Their fullbacks, Ronaldo, McKaylee, were excellent. Granit Xhaka in the middle of the park. When we're talking about signings of the season, in terms of players who have influenced the club they've arrived at, Granit Xhaka, wow, is there any player more influential than that? You flip that and look at Newcastle. They spent £55 million on a winger and Anthony Elanga. Now, the team sheet yesterday was almost to be expected. There was one big surprise. That was the inclusion of Elanga. It's 23 games, guys, now without a goal and 1 assist. He could have been taken off at half-time yesterday, as could a few others in black and white. Eddie Howe eventually admitted just before the hour it was a failed experiment. Off went Gordon, off went Elanga, but by then it was too late. They were 1-0 down.
I mean, look, what is it about this group of Newcastle players then, Craig? Because they keep putting in these sort of anemic performances, if you like, away from home. Not just this game. They've lost at West Ham. They've lost at Brentford. They've lost at Brighton. They drew at Leeds. They drew at Bournemouth. I mean, they are doing it repeatedly.
If you go back 2 seasons, Jeff, 3 seasons when Newcastle were qualifying for the Champions League, remember they had that S-housery about them, for want of a better word. They were the team everybody hated to love. There was that begrudging respect because they would employ the dark arts. Now, if this had been a Premier League fixture 2 years ago, and this talks to the point Ali made about it not really being a football match yesterday, if they'd have gone there 2 years ago in the league, I think they would have won because they had that nastiness and they had that naughtiness about them and they had the street smarts and the dark arts. They don't have that now. They've gone a little bit soft, and some of that comes back to recruitment now. The player whose name is up in lights on the back page this morning for all the wrong reasons, Nick Woltemade. I've said this for a long time. He's not a bad player. He's actually a very good player. He's just the missing piece in somebody else's jigsaw. And the style of player he is doesn't allow them to play on the front foot with that in-your-face aggression that had become their trademark. They have gone a little bit soft. They have lost that edge. And that is why we're seeing performances like yesterday, and especially repeated performances such as that on the road when they haven't got that natural motivator and the added aggression of the home crowd.
Craig, I was at the game, was it 2 years ago in the Cup, where it was very, very one-sided, and Newcastle came to the Stadium of Light and won it comfortably. But in closing, mate, I want to take a message I already said at 6 o'clock. Just get your views on it. I thought the tribute to Gary Rowell at the start of the game. I played with Gary and I was singing his praises. A wonderful lad and no mean finisher, Craig. I thought that the respect shown him at the start of the game was lovely.
No, it was brilliant. And actually, someone mentioned your name beforehand, Ali, and said that you were big mates with Gary. And I thought the applause, they got it right. They played the Yellow Submarine. 50,000 Sunderland supporters joining in there. That was Gary's song. Then when they had the tribute, I thought they got that right with the applause rather than the silence, given the risk of a silence. But the applause, I looked up and every Newcastle fan was joining in. Even though he scored that hat-trick against Newcastle in 79, to have that universal appreciation for a guy. And I didn't know Gary particularly well, but he's always in and around the press box and really good-looking guy as well, wasn't he? I couldn't believe, Ali. 68 years old, such a young age, but goodness, Gary Rowell looked 48. Brilliant player. I'll always have that hat-trick, and I thought the show of appreciation and, the timing of Gary's passing as well, I thought just added something to the game for Sunderland. It was a match they couldn't lose and they didn't lose, and it was a fitting tribute.
Absolutely, mate.
Craig, thanks very much.
Thanks for your time.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, Craig. Ben has texted, change the subject and change the mood. Says, Ben's texted, morning lads, awful weekend here. Says, my wife's left me, my dog's passed away. However, all is not lost. Says, delighted that Harry Brook and the lads have had a belting 2 weeks down under, which has cheered me right up. Brilliant. Thanks, Ben. Love it.
I bet you Ben started something. It's all going to kick off now.
Well, let's hope so.